What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, we're going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to break down what's going on in the overall market and how it may affect NIO, what's going on with the news and data affecting NIO, and why you should be very ready for next week because it's going to be a very, very interesting week. And before I break anything down about NIO, before I get into any more details and answer the question, is NIO about to explode? I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 7 free stocks, each valued at up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free NIO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 4 weeks. Make sure you check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So anyways, when it comes to NIO, we actually have a very, very nice bullish candle that formed right over here, as NIO is getting very close to our major resistance zone around that $9.8 to $10 level. Now, I do believe NIO could actually end up getting there, but there might be a bit of a pullback first before we get there. But I do think that overall the trend has shifted a bit on NIO, and we are seeing some more bullish momentum that's likely going to perpetuate into next week. So why is the market starting to rally? What's actually going on? Let's first talk about the news, then I'm going to transition to the charts. So there were some Fed speakers that came out, such as Logan, who were actually a little bit more on the hawkish side, saying that there's a lot more tightening that has to be done. And they did talk about the fact that there are vulnerabilities in the U.S. financial system. Now, even though that is the case, technically, there were other speakers that came out and actually pumped the markets by saying, there's a lot of hope for a 25 basis point hike. This is what Bostic said. There were other speakers talking about the fact that, the Fed is, favoring more tightening, but they could actually see 25 basis points again. So now they're actually causing the markets to go back to their old practices and actually seek a potential soft landing, and also the same type of narrative as before, the soft landing narrative. And the Fed could pause soon. That's like the next thing that's going on. Pretty funny stuff. But I want to note to everyone, we have CPI on the 14th of March. That's when CPI is coming. That could actually change everything for the rally, so be very careful. That's 1 week before the FOMC meeting on the 22nd of March, right? So now what's going on with NIO? Well, the bottom line is NIO is starting to rally a bit with the overall market, and we are rallying as we approach CPI. Now, I do believe that this rally could continue going into next week. It's very possible. And if that's the case, it could actually be correlated with NIO pushing up, but everything could change depending on CPI on the 14th. So I'm not necessarily too optimistic in a way where I believe we're just going to keep going like for all of March. I think in the second half of March, things could really change and we're hitting that pivot point by the 14th. So that's why you have to be very cautious until then. But until then, the market might hold up and continue to rally, maybe trade a little more sideways to start off next week before seeing more bullish momentum. That's despite the fact that NIO did have relatively weak earnings. They did see bigger losses than expected, and their guidance for Q1 did decrease a bit. And many people may suspect it's because NIO is now trying to set the bar lower so that they could do a lot better. Or it could actually be because there are lots of difficulties, demand difficulties, as the rate in which people are saving money in China keeps on increasing. So that could be another thing that's very important. But to me, it's not the end of the world. JP Morgan did actually downgrade their targets on NIO. They lowered their price targets about $10, unfortunately. This was some bearish news, but it didn't really negatively affect us too badly. Now, as far as the news goes for the overall market, PMI came out suggesting that demand is still relatively high. The economy is still strong, especially after those jobs numbers that came out yesterday. Jobless claims were lower than expected, right? Once again, telling us that the jobs market is strong, there's still high demand, and the Fed has more tightening to do. The Fed speakers didn't really tank the markets too much. I'm actually recording this a few minutes before the market closes. Overall, we're holding up just fine for NIO. The market pulled back. I think it pulled back just a little bit. Overall, it's still holding up very, very well. SPY is still at 403. Once again, still doing well. We do have a lot of potential to continue. But once again, we do have big things coming out for next week. We have Jerome Powell speaking. we have more data coming out, and then the week after that is when we have CPI and PPI as well. Now for NIO, we had higher than average volume. We're currently up over 4%, and NIO is actually above average in terms of that. On top of that, we also have the short volume percentage dropping, meaning algos are starting to buy a lot more on NIO's end. So we're getting some bullish signals right now for NIO, and we are building up some bullish momentum. What am I seeing for next week? Well, let me just note that for SPY, I'm actually seeing that we're gonna likely try to fill this gap next week. We have a gap around this like 406 level. There's another gap around 408. I suspect we're gonna see a pullback first. The market needs to cool off because we are overbought. We're likely gonna see us retrace to 402, maybe even 400. I mean, I don't know if we're going to come all the way down to fill this gap at 397. Even if we come down that much, it's going to be fine because this thing could still bounce and continue going. Now, if it does end up bouncing and continue going, then we're going to get another retest of this 404 zone, and we could later still break it. So I am seeing a bit of a pullback first. I don't know how low we're going to go, whether it's 400 or 402. I'm going to determine that later, make another video about that. But the bottom line is, we're likely going to establish a higher low than this 392 level. Then we're going to start continuing to go as the days go on, especially near the end of the week, because the shorts do like to destroy lots of people who are not the shorts, the market makers like to destroy the shorts near the end of the weeks, especially when there's too much puts being bought in a relatively short period of time, especially because of those 0 day to expiration options. So now, I think the market could cool down a bit, then continue going up to fill this 406 gap, maybe the 408 gap as well. On the triple Q, same thing essentially. I think we filled this gap. We filled this gap around this 296, but there's another gap all the way up to about 300. We came just short on the QQQ. There are a few minutes left, so it might try, but overall it is a little bit short. Uh, the QQQ might cool off a little bit first and then try to fill that gap. And if it does do that, this could actually help lots of tech out there. We have another gap of here around 303, which means that Tesla, Apple, and a lot of stocks might continue going. This could help NIO continue to push up as well because NIO hasn't filled its gap yet. NIO is likely going to fill this gap very soon. Then it's going to try to get back to $10. I do think that could happen. Is NIO going to explode though? I wouldn't necessarily use the word explode, but I do think we could get some nice green days. There's also the potential for NIO to form an inverse head and shoulders, so it might come down, retest $9, then continue going. And if that's the case, we could see NIO enter the low to mid $10 range, which is still a pretty nice move. It can still make a 10% move to the upside over the next week. It could still happen. So overall, the odds are favoring a bit of a pullback and another bullish move for NIO. We could make some explosive moves to some degree, but I don't think it's going to be like absolutely insane. NIO going to like $12 or anything like that too fast. I think we're just going to take it level by level. And until then, that's basically what I have for this video. So I want to thank each and every one of you for listening. Please remain calm, cool, and collected. And I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon because the long-term future is still incredibly bright. And peace out.